Welcome to Late to the Movies. As you guys know, I don't know how to start the podcast yet, so it's either going to be something like honestly, a perfect rendition of the point that I'm worried we will have to pay John Williams for the rights to that song, or something along the lines of, welcome to Late to the Movies. My name is Ben Holland. This is a podcast where my friends and I get to fill in our movie blind spots each week. We'll pick a movie that either I or a guest hadn't seen before and really should have by now. This week, kicking off a theme month, which we'll talk about the name of the theme because I'm pretty excited about a few options, and we gotta drill down on it. But this whole month, the theme will be Steven Spielberg summer blockbusters. We are starting with 1981's Raiders of the Lost Ark. My guests today, left to right across your podcast style, we got Kay.
Hello.
Sam.
Hi.
And Bree.
Hello.
Hello. A couple options. Just saying, that every time. It's Steven Spielberg summer blockbusters, and we're picking 4 of them. Or I'm partial to Hot Steve Summer.
Very good.
Hot Spielberg Summer. Or we accidentally called it Big Steve Summer on the way over. Yeah. And I thought that was even... You go like one step beyond into just complete nonsense, and I kind of was partial to that too.
Because it doesn't mean anything.
It doesn't mean anything. Do you guys have a preference?
So I was definitely on the Hot Steve Summer until I heard Big Steve Summer.
That's where I'm at.
He's not even a large man.
No, he's not. Yeah. Does he even go by Steve in his personal life? No. Unclear. Definitely doesn't go by Big Steve. Yeah, so I think Big Steve Summer is the winner. As much meme bait as Hot Steve Summer is, I think it's got to be Big Steve Summer.
No, definitely.
All right. Big Steve Summer. So before we get into Raiders of the Lost Ark, let's talk about what you guys, let's talk about what we were already talking about before I hit record. What have you guys been watching lately? Anyone can jump in.
So I was saying before, I just finished the 2nd season of Bridgerton, which I know is late. I find it really hard to watch complete seasons of anything during the school year. So this is my first week of summer vacation. So I was able to finally finish Bridgerton. I like it a lot. I was saying to Bree that it's like a show that I enjoy. It's probably not one of my favorite shows, I wouldn't say, but it's a good show. It's fun. It's enjoyable. It was a nice intro to summer time. So that's me.
Yeah. Intro to summer 101.
Yeah.
We actually, I wouldn't talk about it before, but we did watch, what's that Chris Hemsworth, Miles Teller movie?
Oh man, Spiderhead.
We watched Spiderhead.
What a load of garbage.
So I actually want to address that off the top.
Yeah.
In the last episode, which was recorded, it wasn't even the last episode, actually. It was now 2 episodes ago, even though I recorded it before, whatever, it doesn't matter. In the Stranger Things episode, we started talking about Netflix's failing business model and how they had this movie directed by the guy who directed the currently #1 movie in America at the time we recorded, Top Gun Maverick. It's starring maybe like the most bankable Avenger at this point, someone who has a Thor movie coming out in like a freaking week. Sorry, I got excited. Also, Miles Teller, who is one of the stars of the #1 movie in America as this is coming out. And on a podcast where it was me and 3 people who do a podcast about movies, have you guys ever heard of Spiderhead? And none of them had. And then it came out. Turns out it kind of sucks.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So now it looks like I was like, you guys aren't going to believe it. You're going to see Spiderhead. Your mind's going to be blown. And maybe Netflix was like, we don't need to do it.
Yeah.
They definitely spent over $100 million on that just with the people involved, I would have to think.
Oh, yeah. Those are some big checks.
And there's some, like, a lot of the set design is all in one, like, I guess it's kind of a spoiler.
Right, yeah.
But, like, yeah, it does move around
prison,
a lot.
right?
Yeah. So there's that. But so it's funny. I had never heard of it. Bree's dad actually put it on while we were there. We didn't even like choose it. It was more like, this movie's just on. And then like after like 10 minutes, we're like, I guess we're just watching this whole movie right now.
I think my dad pranked us though, because like he put it on. He's like, oh, it's a new Netflix movie. He didn't watch it with us.
No.
He left the subtitles in Spanish because that's just how his Netflix is set up.
Yep.
And when he was done, he's like, that's a shit movie, isn't it? In Spanish. I was like, so you watched it already and just let us waste our time?
I need someone to have this pain with me. Yeah.
It was fine. There were good moments. There were tense moments. It just kind of played like a subpar Black Mirror episode, to be honest.
Yeah.
Like just a
Is
longer.
that the one where it's like
That's what
they're
it is.
like
That's
some
what I've heard.
experiment is happening and
Yeah. It's
okay.
like
Like
they're doing,
unethical, late stage capitalism kind
gotcha.
of
Yeah,
stuff.
It
they're
is
doing-
based on a short story that
Yeah.
you might be.
It
Yeah,
works way
okay.
better as a short story.
So that was the funny
Because I was
thing.
like, as you're like saying the name again and again, I was like, I feel like I know
It's a
of
short
this.
story,
okay,
yeah.
okay.
I read the I think like the Wikipedia or something, or just like some websites like recollection of the short story, and the short story reads like a great Black Mirror episode, and
Yeah.
the ending's completely different,
Yeah.
and like so
Oh, interesting.
spoilers
very.
for people who have read it and are watching the movie, but it's one of those things where I was like, I see why the movie changed that. The ending of it seems like the kind of thing that would work much better as a book. Things like, it ends with like, Miles Teller's character's inner thoughts in the book. It's harder to portray that in a movie, stuff like that. Kind of like thinking stuff like, what's that famous short sci-fi short story? I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, kind of a thing. Like that's obviously a better book than it would ever be in like a visual media, because there's just too much subtext and things going on.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fine. I don't think Miles Teller continues just to get the job of like weird cast off Shia LaBeouf movies. Like I was talking to Bree about just like how every generation just seems to have like this weird, like he's clean cut, but there's something off about
edgy.
him.
Yeah.
He's like a little edgy, but you wouldn't call him edgy.
Right.
Like I don't know, like that Shia LaBeouf definitely landed on 10 years ago, and now Miles Teller's taking the entire thing. But it's fine. Chris Hemsworth, amazing American accent. I'm just throwing that out there.
Chris Hemsworth did a great acting job. Like I
yeah.
will say, that's probably the only good thing about this movie.
I like Chris Hemsworth a lot.
Yeah.
Same. He did a great job in it.
He does an American accent, not from the Benedict Cumberbatch over R-ing,
School of Growling.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So I it seemed natural, like to the degree that I'm like
Yeah.
couldn't
That's really-
place it. Just seemed crisp, like
That's
flat
always
American.
really nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, good for him there.
Yeah.
But yeah,
It's worth a watch.
Yeah. There's just so much stuff
there's so much
to
yeah,
watch.
it's what there always
Oh.
is.
And
Hold on.
I in that department finally made my way through Barry since the last
nice.
time we
I was just
recorded
gonna bring that
together.
up.
Since the last time we recorded together, I've watched all of the available Barry, the first 3 seasons. Yeah, as you texted to me, that gets real bleak. Real
Well,
dark.
The last episode of that show is definitely putting BoJack Horseman on notice for darkest episode of a comedy show of all time.
Yeah, it's tough. I don't know if I like it.
Yeah. Well,
I don't think I could say like I liked the show since like the end of season 1.
Yeah.
But it's still really interesting, and the performances are, especially Henry Winkler. And,
yeah, everybody's so good.
everyone's really good in it, but I just feel like the writing is nowhere near on the same level as the acting.
It's tough to me. What do you say that the
Bill
last
Hader
episode was
specifically wrote it to make it feel like a panic attack.
Yeah, and
All right, yeah, that's
I
what it
told-
feels like.
I told
Yeah,
her
definitely felt like it.
I told her I'd finished season 2. Obviously, it cut for COVID, or it broke
Yeah.
for COVID. So like it was. I think season 2 was like 2019 or something.
Mhm.
I told her I wasn't sure if I would have started watching season 3 again if we hadn't just kind of I had just mentioned Barry a couple times in passing, and she was eventually like, "Oh, let's watch Barry." I was like, "Oh, the new season's coming out. Makes sense. Perfect
Yeah.
time." Like we mentioned in our previous show that we started watching Barry.
Yeah,
But yeah, I'm glad I watched it.
I feel like it's doing a very interesting thing by having a main character who was like never really 3-dimensional and is just kind of a cipher
Yep.
and hasn't been redeemable since the end of season 1, really, considering how season 1 ends. And-
Even what he does earlier in season 1, that's
Yeah,
the thing.
but even that, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Once he starts killing people that aren't,
yeah, the first innocent killing he makes,
Yeah.
I kind of turned to her. It's like, that's when I literally, that was like halfway through season 1, I turned to her and said, and that's when I kind of started hating Barry. Not
right? Yeah.
necessarily the show, but just it's tough to have a main character. They do a decent job of at least putting him around people that are worse.
Yes.
In some ways, but I feel like this season it was.
Yes.
This season not as much almost.
But
this season-
the non-organized crime people that he's around, whose
Yeah.
lives he is making actively worse every day, and you're kind of just like, man, I wish these people could stop hanging out with Barry.
yeah. I could do another hour on Barry, but I don't.
Yeah, no, I know we all could, and we're going to cut most of that out because even though I just caught up, the third season only ended pretty recently, so people might be behind.
Yeah.
There's just so much stuff to watch.
Yep.
Is that John Williams? No, it's not. It's us transitioning into the main part of the show. So I've seen this movie a whole bunch of times. Kay has too.
Mm-hmm.
You probably have.
I believe I've seen it straight. Like this might be one of the first times I've seen it straight through, but I've definitely seen every part of it. And my dad loves this movie, so this I've been around this movie for sure. Nothing was a surprise when I watched it. I'll put it that way.
On the other hand, this is your first watch of Raiders of the Lost Ark, right?
Any of the Indiana Jones movies. Yep. I've never seen a single one.
But I didn't.
Well, this is the best one, but
It's a good
there's some redeeming stuff in almost all of them. I love this movie. It's real good. Usually try and like withhold judgment till the end, but I feel like the movies we're doing this month are all coming in like, yeah, I wanted to do these movies. I picked these.
Yep.
I think I owed it to myself after a whole month of Marvel movies that like really made me a lot sadder than I thought they were going to. Even though like I enjoyed them as we were doing it, then it's just kind of watching too many in succession and talking about them for I think cumulatively like 6 hours that month.
Yeah.
It's a lot. And then last month was all the horror stuff, which I enjoyed a lot. But yeah, let's just do some Spielberg movies.
Yep.
Do some Spielberg. It's hot. It's Big Steve Summer.
Big Steve Summer.
Big Steve Summer.
I heard, you hear it in the streets. Ringing out. It's Big Steve Summer.
Steve's name always runs out. Or not rings. Damn it, rings out.
You fucked it up. Who wants to do a 1-minute plot summary of Raiders of the Lost Ark?
I can do it.
Okay.
All right.
Whenever you are ready.
Cool. What was the Voz thing? Start the clock. So Indiana Jones is an archaeologist, and he's like, I gotta get stuff back from South America and only South America, not a specific country.
Yep.
And a bunch of guys die trying to get it, and then he gets it, and then there's this French guy who's like, not like, you gotta be quicker than that, and he steals it, and then he goes back to his job, and all the girls think he's hot, and he's like, I gotta go find the Ark of the Covenant in Egypt. I got a staff I gotta find, and he finds the staff, and they're like, we're gonna steal that too, and then he's trying to find where the Ark is, and then he finds it, and it's in the most obvious place in the entire thing, and they're digging in the wrong place, and then he goes to get it, and there's snakes, and then he gets the Ark, and then they steal it again because the French guy's always there, and then they're like, I'm gonna go back, and then they're like, the Nazis got it now, and here the French guy and the Nazis like, we're gonna open it, and then it's just sand, and they're like, it's just sand, and then it's like, no, it's not sand, it's face melt ghosts, and then he's like, turn away, because there's a girl there too, and that's it. Basically, he goes back to teaching. I think, I don't know. Spielberg, Big Steve
Summer.
Perfect.
So the teaser trailer for this movie starts 1975 Jaws, 1977 Star Wars, 1981 Raiders of the Lost Ark. So you see exactly what they were trying to do.
Yeah.
The poster for it says Indiana Jones, the new hero from the makers of Jaws and Star Wars. And so this is your new guy.
Yeah.
Listen up, America.
Yeah.
This is your best friend now. And the way the movie starts, which I had actually forgotten, but having that kind of context in my mind, you see a bunch of people just following this guy. You don't actually see Harrison Ford's face for a bit. He's in shadow. And it's him walking towards that tomb or cave or whatever in South America. And you can see there's someone who's like going to take a shot at him. And right before it happens, he whips the gun out of his hand, and then he steps out of the shadows into the light, and you see Harrison Ford, and you're like, holy shit, he's hot. And it's
I think those are Bree's exact words.
And it's like, oh yeah, this is the guy. This is the guy now. Movie not expected to do that well. Came out the same year as Superman 2, I think. Ended up being the number one grossing movie in 1981. Made almost $400 million worldwide on a $20 million budget in 1981. Cool. So just insane. So the movies we mentioned, part of the teaser campaign, obviously, Steven Spielberg directs this. the story conceived by George Lucas. This is our first movie that we're doing either of those guys related to anything. And if you haven't heard of them before, well, those guys are a pretty big deal in 20th century American pop culture. So, man, yeah, I'm excited to talk about this movie. I don't really know where to jump in, but that's some framing that we can choose to use.
I would like to just like one of the things that came to me was that and I don't, I know we jump out of order immediately, but the theme of this movie is unreal recognizable. Like it's probably, if you had to break it down, probably a top 10 recognizable theme in American culture and in like movie history, I'd guess.
Oh yeah.
And it doesn't really kick in until later in the movie.
Yep.
He doesn't. They
It's like an
wait
hour
on
in.
it.
Yeah.
And I wonder how fast it took for that theme to get iconic. It's like because none of us were alive when that movie, but my entire life that's been an iconic theme. And I don't know if it's just because my dad played this movie around a lot, but like I've always known that theme. There's always been like the boulder's always been in pop culture. Like the pop culture hits in this. The memes in this, the face melt scene, like it's just such to this day a prevalent pop culture.
Yeah.
Like
a lot of memes.
I was saying to Ben, I was like, this is the thing where when I talk about genre with the kids and I mention adventure, they all say Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's kids now. Like
Yeah,
eighth graders nowadays are just like, oh, Indiana Jones. Like that's the one we all go to. And it's just become this kind of quintessential, this is the adventure kind of story for us and movie for us. And Ben was the one who mentioned to me, which I don't know if I'd put together before, but it's basically like the 1930s, like radio plays kind of made live.
Serials. Yeah.
And it's so true. And it makes so much sense of like why they're kind of like over the top. Like they're like a lot of like heightened everything with what's going on.
The way I phrase
super campy. And it's so good.
It's so fun. Yeah.
I love when the corpses are yelling at Marion.
Yeah.
So good.
I have a whole note on that. It's just like Marion can't stop running into corpses.
Just like,
and all the corpses are going, hey.
At one point I was like, can she sit still? Like this would literally not be moving. I gotta say, because you mentioned it in your like summary.
Yeah.
Marion, no point in her being there. Like he could have taken the talisman and not like she was a giant liability. That
He did not invite her
until she picked up a gun.
But like that was probably
just wanted
because
that
of
thing,
her.
and then he was gonna leave.
They do show her to be so capable right off the bat.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Like they show like woman holding her liquor, like super like stereotypical like strong independent woman, and then all she is just a klutz the entire movie.
Who loves wearing red accessories.
One note on that Kay pointed out is that scene is 1-to-1 pretty much referenced at the beginning of Charlie's Angels
Full Throttle.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's the exact same like setup.
It is
it's
shot
like
the same
it's
way.
shot the exact same way.
They're playing like dice or whatever, but they're both throwing back shots. It's Drew Barrymore,
and she like takes the shot and like puts it down, and then the other guy
Charlie's
takes
Angels
over.
movies, but
and does the wind like almost falls
Yeah,
over.
and I had never thought of it, and then we were watching this Raiders of the Lost Ark yesterday, and I just went, "Hey,
I've seen that shit before."
Drew Barrymore does this too.
I guess also should mention because we story by George Lucas, written by Lawrence Kasdan. Larry Kasdan on an absolute heater. The year before, he had written Empire Strikes Back, and he's gone on to do all kinds of other stuff. But just so we're not giving people credit, which I hate to do.
But yeah, it's very the way I described it. You're absolutely right with the adventure serial thing. I was saying like it's kind of a cool homage to kind of older Hollywood at the time. So I feel like a lot of people, especially kids, would watch this movie now and be like, "Oh, that's just how movies were back then." It's like. Kind of, but not really. Like they had already you think about Die Hard coming out 7 years after this, and just how stark of different the tone and the action are for those two movies. It's not because like that got invented in those 7 years.
No.
Like movies were, I can't think of one in like the 1980, like early 80 off the top of my head. But like there's a lot of, when I think 80s action movie, I do not think that tone at all.
No.
And like you think about the
No, it's
practical
timeless.
effects, you think about the, like I was telling her, like I forgot how nostalgic and excited I get for like weird like gunshots like ricocheting off the ground because they just put all like the all the pops in the ground for the dust to like kick up, like just very like Disney stunt show like
Very
everywhere.
much so. Just kind of like it feels like it's like a love letter, like on Spielberg's part to and Lucas's part to kind of like that old Hollywood style like adventure.
Yep.
kind of
Supposedly, it was the first thing that Lucas started to sort of come up with after American Graffiti, which is all nostalgia.
thing.
So it makes sense. I guess he was thinking about Zorro and Buck Rogers. and wanted a guy. And the way they presented it as, here's the new hero, is very, very old school.
Yep.
Because, if you look at other movies, it's an 80s movie. It doesn't feel like it belongs to any decade.
No, it doesn't. And
it's in the 30s, and I just couldn't get that in my head the entire time. It's like, this does not feel like a 30s movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The setting
rise of Nazis and...
Yeah.
Well, yeah, besides that part, but like...
There is one time where he offers her $3,000 to get home, and then another $2,000, and then she's like, that won't bring me back in style, or something like that. And I did the thing that's $60,000 today, like $3,000.
He was well funded.
And I'm like, was there just a translation? Like, it's $3,000 1980 money, but like, I don't want to say.
Like, for audience purposes.
Because like, I'm pretty sure $60,000 could buy you a house back then.
God, for sure.
Yeah.
Never mind.
But yeah, I was talking to Ben when we were talking about doing this one, and I kept being like, is this the one where this happens? Is this the one where this happens? Because I feel like
it was
I've
all Last
seen
Crusade.
I know. And I've seen all of the Indiana Jones movies, and they all kind of get conflated in my head.
Yeah.
So I was like, is this the one with the Nazis book burning? And he's like, no. And I'm like, is this the one with his dad? He's like, no. And I'm like, all right, great. Okay. I was like, is this the one with River at the beginning on the horse? And he's like, no. And I'm like, great. Okay. But yeah, setting it in like 1936 is like so specific because it's supposed to kind of be, I guess, early in kind of the Nazis takeover, and the way that they're just like, oh yeah, they're super into like the occult and all of that. It's such, I think it's like a cool hook to use because that's true. Like they did look for the Ark of the Covenant. I was looking on, just looking up like a bunch of stuff about it because I ended up in like a hole of like looking at all the things. But like the Nazis were super, like they were really trying to find Atlantis. They had like a whole team looking for it and like things like that, which is so crazy. So it makes sense that they come up again and again, like in future Indiana Jones movies too. It's like the Nazis have stolen things and we got to go get it back, like stuff like that.
I didn't know that was the central plot to the Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah. Temple of Doom's weird. But
Temple of Doom
that's
goes
a weird
sideways.
Last Crusade is
that.
Yeah.
Um,
Same religious artifacts that they're trying to get to before the
and Indiana Jones wants to put them back in like an American museum rather than
Did have a lot
that's
of
like
moments.
the one meme that's not in this one. Is him in the rain yelling, "This belongs in a museum." As Last Crusade.
Yeah.
Which
no,
is
I
weirdly
had a
aged
lot
badly.
I think that was the first time, and when I was watching this, I was just like, oh no.
Yeah,
like they're
remember when
not
that
doing
was
any of this right. Like, oh, this is why Egypt's real mad and wants them to give all their stuff back.
Remember when that was a hero move to put things in a museum, and now it's
Yeah, and I just imagine like Egyptians are like, there's like several groups of white guys fighting over shit that they're just taking.
That's ours.
That's definitely not theirs.
Like at the beginning, I had forgotten, because everything had been whitewashed in the 90s, and I was just like, she was like, this isn't like a problematic thing where he's just stealing artifacts, is it? And I'm like, no, like he's trying to preserve things.
He's not
and then
keeping
like,
them.
The very first thing he tries to do is steal an artifact from a cave in South America.
I think near the end of the movie, I was like, I think I prefer Killmonger.
Right,
And
yeah.
and
That's yeah.
hadn't remembered,
Changing
which
social
is
norms.
very much jumping to the very end of this movie, but the very, very end is just that shot of like the U.S. government warehouse, like full
Yeah.
of stuff.
Full of
And I was like,
artifacts.
oh, so was this whole thing like a commentary? Like, maybe.
Not
I
at
don't
the
know.
time, probably not, but definitely is now.
Yeah, Harrison Ford in this movie, my God.
Hot diggity.
I remember him being like good looking in these movies, but I was like, holy shit. Like he was probably like a big fucking deal.
Oh yeah,
for
yeah.
sure.
He's like the number one A-lister of the 80s and 90s, give or take a Jack
Wow.
Yeah, 'cause I
Nicholson.
saw-
Probably late 70s to mid 90s.
Yeah, so 77 Star Wars, and then
That's the thing. Like I haven't seen any of the Star Wars movies either besides the last two, but I remember I've seen him obviously in like clips and stuff as Han Solo. I was like, he's not very good looking as Han Solo. I don't know if it's the hair or what,
It's a
but I
very
saw him-
70s look.
Yeah, but then I saw him as
Yeah.
Indiana Jones and I'm like, I get it now.
Yeah.
get it now.
It's very much kind of just like the like heartthrob. Like
Yes.
they knew like going in. They were like,
Yeah.
it's got to be Harrison Ford.
Nerdy
Like
professor, like
Yes.
doing action things. It was great.
that scene where he's like back at the like right after the first like temple
Yeah.
thing, and he's back and the girl blinking with the like
Yeah, I love you.
love you on her eyes, and he's like
Oh.
he's so good.
He's
I'd
so
forgotten how hilarious he is, and like his like over the top, just kind of
Yeah.
like camp. It's such a good word for the way that everyone acts. But
Yeah.
he's fantastic.
Yeah, it's weird because they kind of use, I don't know, like it just ages so well because we know Harrison Ford today is a guy who just doesn't do stuff he doesn't want to do.
Yeah.
And it's just like his persona as a guy who is just like really doesn't want to do this.
Yep.
But then I like the fight on the weird plane.
Yeah.
Where the guy is like, "Hey, come on," and he's just like, "Okay, just like give me a second."
Yep.
That was really
God, and he just like puts his hand down and he's like, "Fine, yeah, whatever."
Gen X hero Harrison Ford.
You gotta talk about that one scene because I love that fun fact.
Which one?
Where that one guy is doing like all the tricks with the sword.
The famous story, like very top Hollywood story of all time that Harrison Ford very famously had diarrhea. The shoot, he was supposed to have a big sword fight with big sword guy. So they play up everything where he's running through like an Egyptian marketplace and the sword, like they're getting chased by people trying to like capture them or kill them. And this guy with a big sword comes out and he's flipping the sword and Harrison Ford just shoots him. And originally he was supposed to have a giant sword fight with him, but Harrison Ford ad-lib pulling out the gun and shooting him because he didn't want to fight that day because he had to go back and take a little poop.
That guy must have been surprised. That was a real gun.
It just murked him.
Yeah, no, that's just easily one of the most iconic scenes in American film. It's just
so good.
And I told Kaylee last night, I've gotten better about it, but we will have to say iconic multiple times in this. That scene's awesome, but let's start at the start. This opening scene, I mean, everything about it. You got young Alfred Molina looking like a snack.
Yep.
That's not where I thought that sentence was going to go, but sometimes just have
a little octopus snack.
Yeah. Looking like some fried calamari.
Yeah.
It's the only perfect reaction. It's the only reaction it can have.
I don't even know. Is calamari squid? Probably. Whatever.
Doesn't matter.
Jokes.
Jokes. We get it.
We all get it.
It's the closest. It's the only edible thing I could think of besides like you can eat octopus, but it's not like a thing.
Yeah.
It's got to be a different name for comedy's sake. Anyway. Yeah, that scene's amazing. Just everything about it is seared into my brain pretty much. The way
all the tarantulas.
All the tarantulas, and then Molina turns around. You're like, oh, I bet he's got a bunch of them. And he does.
The part where I was talking with Ben when we were watching it too, where he's just like looking at the thing and then like takes a little bit of sand out. I'm like, he's trying to weigh it in his mind. And he's like,
they're trying to show his intelligence.
It was too much. You should have poured out more sand.
No.
I feel like by memory, I could do all of his mannerisms from that bit just because it's so ingrained when he's doing
and also,
that.
Like it's so iconic that it's like it's part of the stunt show at the Disney World in Hollywood Studios, and it's all this movie, which I feel like again I had just kind of like mixed it all up in my head of what belongs where, but it's the entirety of this is what the stunt show is, and that is such like I feel like a nostalgic part of my childhood.
I didn't think about it until I started watching it because in my brain I was like, oh yeah, like Indiana Jones, huge movie, huge thing. And then I was like, when the big guy was fighting around the the propeller plane, I was like, oh, and classic scene. This. And then I'm like, is this the classic scene or is this just something I remember from the stunt show from Disney?
Well, I mean, we can get into that bit of it a little bit, but it's both because the Disney apparatus is like, you're going to remember this. Yeah. Because
we're going to throw adults into pools from 20 feet up until you remember this forever.
Yeah, because the stunt show is the boulder, him pulling the idol in the boulder. It's the fight with the big guy with the plane spinning around.
Yeah. It's running through the streets of Egypt, jumping off the building.
Yes. Yeah. So
blow up a truck or two.
Mm-hmm.
Blow up a truck or two, call it a day.
Yep.
Thanks for coming. Have the pretend guy from the crowd, but actually he's part of the stunt show.
Yeah.
So good.
Which is, of course, in this movie, too. That's Jonathan Rhys-Davies. They just pulled him out of the crowd.
They just pulled him out of the crowd.
He's very British playing Egyptian in this one.
I did point that out. I was like, it's nice that they got Alfred Molina to play the South American guy, but John Rhys-Davies. Very white.
And we were talking about because he's doing like a little bit of an accent, but sometimes he does sound exactly like Gimli.
Yep. So what was it? The Princess Diaries 2 bad guy?
He's the like uncle, like Chris Pine's uncle in Princess Diaries too. That's where I clocked him. Yep.
It's like everyone's got a different frame of reference.
Bree hasn't seen Lord of the Rings, which is probably a future episode.
So you guys picked him out from Princess Diaries, you from Lord of the Rings, me from the King of the Crabs and Aquaman.
Of course. Yeah.
Does not appear on screen, but at one point he goes, crabs! Or I don't really remember Aquaman.
Wait, is he royalty in Lord of the Rings too? Because it seems like he's royalty kind of across the board.
He is like a noble dwarf, but I don't know. He's not like king of the dwarves, right?
He's just like the best.
Supposed to be, he's a nephew to Thorin. So yeah, he would have been
Some sort of
considered
nobility,
like
yeah.
He's some kind of
nobility.
like scion of noble dwarven
take it.
family. Right?
Many are leagues of Lord of the Rings fans just screaming Silmarillion. I don't remember how to say that word.
Silmarillion?
Silmarillion.
Silmarillion.
I was gonna say Silmarillion. I'm like, that's not it.
Somalia.
Yeah, I was just trying
Somalia,
to remember.
Sumerian.
Submarine. Mesopotamians are upset.
Yeah, you're right. For self-preservation and for our like Twitter mention's sake, we'll just cut that part out. I remember speak friend and enter. Is that okay? So yeah, we're gonna go all out of order on this movie, I guess, but that's okay. One question: did you pick up on any kind of weirdness with the age difference stuff?
Oh yeah, almost. When she said, what's her exact word? Like I was a child, and you. Like,
yeah, I was like, I think you actually paused it because I was so in shock. I was like, are they doing this? And we looked it up, and apparently, like,
it was the 20s, I guess, when they dated the first time.
But apparently, she like the actress, I forgot her name.
Allen.
Yeah, she apparently was allowed to have like her own backstory, and so she's like, in my rendition of this character, she was like 15 when they dated, and he was an adult. But then Spielberg was like, "That's not this movie. That's not what actually happens in this movie."
The way that the dates work out, and we were trying to figure this out too. We did the same thing.
Yeah.
She would have been 18, and he would have been like 28 or 29 when they dated.
Okay.
Which is not great, but
which
it's
is
the
not
30s
great,
and
but
the
it
20s.
makes sense then that like if he was probably like a PhD student that was working with her father, and then like she would have been like just a freshman in college or senior in high school, which is again not great.
Yeah.
Great, but at
Getting
least she
ready
wasn't a
for-
literal minor.
Business school or for bartending classes or
How did
whatever
she get,
she's
like-
been doing.
How did she get stuck in Nepal? I don't even remember that part.
Sometimes you get stuck in Nepal, but at least
Something
she's a
about
business
having
owner.
Yeah.
She's a business
Yeah,
owner.
they did not. They did not like go into that, and I was like, "Well, how?"
did-
Because she said
That's
she
why
was like,
she was
stuck
like, I'm
there.
going with you. And she's like, you going to get out of here anyway.
Yeah. They kept bringing up Ravenwood in the university at the beginning, and like they keep using him like him pronouns at the beginning.
Abner.
And I was waiting. Well, I think they were even saying like, well, what's Ravenwood? What's that Ravenwood guy gonna do? You know, like, and just like, well, yeah, Mayor Marion's gonna be there, but you know, like, I don't know. Like, it seemed like such a weird thing to just be like, and now you're here, and now you're in Nepal. Now you won't take $3,000 for this job. But I don't know.
Yeah, that
Should've
was
taken the
really
money.
Yeah.
But
So, other people in this movie. So the villains. I always forget that Belloc is like just sort of a subcontractor.
Yeah. There was a period of time when he's got the again. Sorry to skip to the end, but when he's got the bazooka, and he's like, "I'm gonna blow up the Ark of the Covenant," and then they're all like, "Yeah, why don't I bet you will destroy a person you love and the Ark in a historical object?" And I said to her, I was like, "Why don't they just shoot him and the French dude? Like, who cares?
Yeah, they don't-
Why
That's-
is the French dude still
Yes,
alive?"
that is definitely something I picked up on this point. Like, once they get the Ark, why is Belloc going with them?
Yeah.
Well, he's
Why
apparently
and
the
why do
only
they
one-
want him to?
He's apparently the only one who knows how to do the Jewish ritual.
Oh,
that
that's
needs to be
that,
done.
so
okay,
that's
okay.
the hand
Okay.
wave.
That
We were
I
like, we
gotcha.
must have missed a
Right.
hand wave. That's a great
Yeah.
point because they do have a line where the German henchman is like, "I don't want to deal with your Jewish thing," and
Yeah,
because she
Jewish
was like,
holiday or
"Why was it
something.
like
Yeah,
in-
they just call it a Jewish
Totally.
ritual.
It was like a Hebrew artifact or
Yeah.
something like that.
Well, asked and answered, but
Yep.
but still.
but very weak way to."
But like I had thought it
It's
was
a
like,
little
well,
un-
maybe they
yeah.
want him for like other artifacts because he's an archaeologist. So like maybe he knows like, or they can use him for like
Yeah.
finding other
Keep
things.
him on retainer.
Yeah,
whatever,
like
yeah.
he's too much of an earner.
But
That's
if he's that much of inconvenience, like I would think the Nazis would have just gotten rid of him.
Yeah, but that's Belloc's played by Renee Freeman. He's really good.
Yep.
He's really good in this. The other guy who's just the typical, this is the creepy guy.
The creepy Nazi.
Oh gosh,
wearing a coat in the middle of like the desert.
Dabbing his head was like, just take off that leather jacket, that black on black.
I had completely forgotten that it was a hanger that he takes out. And I was like, he's going to hit her with nunchucks?
It's like, well, he's got his nunchucks.
Right? The tiniest nunchucks I've ever seen.
It's like, yeah, Spielberg and Lucas were on top of it with like Indiana Jones. He's got the hat, he's got the whip. He's got like all really iconic gear, and then you forget, oh yeah, that Nazi's got nunchucks. There you go. They're kind of off base on that one.
But it's like, oh, okay, it's just a hanger.
Yeah, it's supposed to look like he's getting some kind of like torture device out, but then he just hangs up his coat. Because it's funny.
It was funny.
It was funny.
I described that dude's performance as Taron Killam playing Christoph Waltz, and it's like the same.
That's fair.
There's the German Nazi accent, and it's so good. It's just so like
I would like
mustache
to talk to
twirling
you,
evil.
Mr. Jones, about that thing.
The whole part at the beginning too, where he's looking for the medallion, and then he picks it up, and I was looking at
the worst possible way.
The worst possible way, so that it immediately sears his hand. I'm like, he could have gone for like the chain. He could have grabbed something with it.
He could have taken off.
He doesn't drop it immediately.
He holds it for a while, screaming, and then he, instead of like just walking out the door, he jumps out a window, and then runs around for a while before realizing, oh, there's snow everywhere.
Yeah, I did notice that he runs out a window that's a foot from the open door.
And all of that just so that they could show that they get half of the medallion because of his flesh being burned.
Oh my gosh. And then it's never brought up again.
Yeah.
So funny.
It is funny. Yeah, and that scene is, that's just pure Spielberg shit, man. The action scenes,
all the action
fun
scenes are good.
The part
fun
too when
choreography.
they're
There's
like running through the streets of Cairo, and it's like they keep like missing each other, and like they'll like be running behind each other in the background.
Yeah.
And I mentioned to Ben, I was like, it's kind of like Benny Hill-esque of just like everyone's like chasing everybody else.
Knocking over all the pots.
And you also mentioned Scooby-Doo when he's like going down one thing, and then he sees that they're behind him all of a sudden.
Very good trope.
Yeah. And I just love that he just fucks everything up in the market. Like these stupid Americans just running through, knocking over all our baskets.
I love scenes where people are in like foreign countries and they just fuck up the fruit vendors. Like I always feel so bad for them, but it's so funny. Guy gets stabbed through the fruit.
Yeah. One of my top comments here though is that Egyptians love chaos. I don't know.
I've seen X-Men Apocalypse. I know how they get down.
The extras in this movie, I don't know if
they're just so happy to be there.
I was gonna say, I don't know if they wanted. I don't know if this was like, hey, like you were just in the market today. Like, how would you guys, if you want to be in this movie, stay here. If you don't want to be in this movie, sorry, you got to get out of here. Or like, what? I have no idea. But there's crowds of people all over the place. And whatever's going down, everyone's just laughing and cheering regardless. So giant fight breaks out with swords. They're here for it. Indiana Jones is out running Nazis. Don't worry. We're gonna put a fake fruit place in front of it, and then we're gonna go try to sell fruit. Like we're gonna nap during the day. Like Indiana Jones gets out of when they get out of that like tomb that they get trapped in. There's just a dude sleeping like next to. Yep. Like it was like they just made this movie around people's days. Like, and they were just here for it because they're like, oh, that's the one thing.
When they get back and they get hidden, I assume that's like, they told Salah to go back first. Yeah. So maybe he got back and arranged that.
Yeah,
I don't know how they would have known to go there.
Because he was
whatever.
right there right afterwards. Yes. So that one I do agree. But it does seem like they're just happy to be there.
Yeah. The first time it happens is when he's in the cafe with Belloc.
And he sends the kids in.
But everyone pulls guns on him. And then it's immediately the funniest thing that any of these people have ever seen.
Yep.
That was the thing. And it's like they just follow him out too, all holding their guns, just being like, that was hilarious. I'm going to tell this story for years. And it's like such a strange reaction, but okay. And all the kids are just holding on to him, and it's like he
just yeets a kid into the truck.
Yeah.
I was saying too, like in that fight scene earlier in that when Marion is like gets put in the thing and like taken away, I was like, he's just throwing her around just to get her out of the way, basically.
It's the 30s.
Yeah.
It was different. People threw women about the street.
He literally at one point just grabs her and like he yeets her across the street just to get her out of his way. Like,
I'm telling you, she was a giant liability in that movie.
There were a lot of women in that.
I like the way they do her character because I do think it's kind of like fun that she's not trying to like just be the like damsel in distress, but she does seem to get in the way.
She was just in the way.
There is a lot of women in that archaeology class, and I did bring that up. I was like, I was like, there was mixed classes. I was like, I don't know.
It's only the dude that leaves the apple.
Yeah, that's true.
There's a lot of
but
yeah, that's well, we know why they took that class.
Yep, that's true.
But I think the actual question we had at the beginning was like, were women like allowed like at that point
that was
to
really
like?
What I was that because I was like, I don't know if like Radcliffe and Harvard were still split like at that point, like what was
in the
going
30s,
on?
yeah.
Might be more of a historical question than a podcast question.
Yeah, but
yeah, not sure. So yeah, those scenes are all good. When they get one thing that we did pick up on that I don't really know that I've fully reckoned with in the past is when they do get out to the dig site, Sala and Jones just kind of have full run of the place for like a full day before anyone is like, "Hey, what are you guys up to?"
They catch him at one point, and it seems
and
like
he just
they
kind
just
of
were
walks
like,
off like, "Oh, I don't know, I couldn't do that.
Yep.
No one told me I couldn't do that."
Yeah. But it did, for what it's worth, that did seem like two like guards or something. And he was just like, all right, like I'm out of here. And Jones wasn't there. But the second time it was like, oh, we got the big wigs are here and we know who you are. And
yeah, it didn't work the second time, but they did get into all kinds of restricted areas.
Yeah, just by having right near the end,
looking like you're supposed to be there. That's
right near the end. Indy shoulder checks Belloc like when they're like 10 minutes left in the movie, and Belloc just kind of goes, whatever, and moves out. I was like, imagine like a guy that's that pissed off and that high would just let that fly.
Yeah, that was
like,
real weird.
That Nazi dude just ran into me. I guess I'll just keep walking.
Unclear if Belloc has any authority over any of the soldiers.
I guess he might have just thought
too,
it's not worth it. Like,
yeah.
But I also, this is completely out of nowhere, but I really liked near the beginning when he's getting on the seaplane and there's a guy that's like, nice to see you again, Dr. Jones, which only delivers the information that yes, Indiana Jones has gone on seaplanes before and he will do it again.
It has that thing that it's also, the tone that's borrowed from serials that he just knows people everywhere.
Yep.
Like, they don't introduce the guy with the Yankees hat who's fishing off the seaplane.
Yeah.
He's not in any of the rest of the movie.
No.
But you're just like, oh, that's his seaplane guy in South America.
Yep. I find it very similar to the way that they treat like detective novels at that time of just like they just know people. They got guys everywhere.
Right.
Of like Poirot, like in all of his things, just like he travels the world and he just knows people
It's like
everywhere. And
pawn
everyone's
shop
just like,
shows.
oh, hey, welcome.
Got a guy.
You got a guy.
Just reminds me of Kim Possible. That's like the thing, the running joke in Kim Possible is like she just has helped everyone everywhere across the world, so they're always like doing her favors.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's how
It's fun.
It's fun.
I like it.
It's fun.
I like that it's international.
So this one's Marion. Kate Capshaw's Temple of Doom, right? Is the love interest in Temple of Doom?
I thought it was just Karen Allen again. Was it
No.
not?
No.
I also like Kay get stuck in the all of them roll into one.
All of them are just one big movie.
So Temple of Doom technically a prequel.
I also haven't seen Temple of Doom or Last Crusade since I was like 15. Like those were very
Temple
much
of the Doom. Temple of the Doom. Temple of Doom. The next one?
It's the next one, but it's a prequel.
Yeah,
and
it's
that's
Kate Capshaw.
Kate Capshaw, who's
Yeah, the other girl would be way too
I don't
young.
think is married to Spielberg yet, but still is today. Right, yeah, because then she'd actually have to be 16 if it's a prequel.
Yep.
And then who's it in? We might not keep any of this, but this is literally just me going, what's up with that? Who's his love interest there?
I do like Karen Allen. I wish Karen Allen was in more stuff.
Yes.
She's in Sandlot as the mom.
It's just Sean Connery, I guess, really. There's the fake out lady who he's kind of like in love with, but then turns out she's a Nazi.
Yeah,
Spoilers.
that's
Classic.
Oh, come on. The movie's older than you or I.
Yeah.
It's older than all but one person in this room.
Yep.
I'm not saying who.
Which one?
You.
No. Which movie?
Last Crusade, 89.
Oh yeah.
Wait, when
I was
89?
one.
I'm assuming summer.
Yeah, that's fair.
Yeah.
Barely missed me. I kind of existed. I just hadn't seen the world yet.
True.
Yeah, May 89. So Harrison Ford, what's everyone's relationship with Harrison Ford?
Well,
Not as close as we'd like, I know. But
I know what you're leading into. I've never met the man.
I actually don't think I've seen that many things with him.
I was not once bounced on his knee and hair tussled and told that he had a son of the same name as me. That didn't happen to me.
oh, it's weird. That happened to me.
Wow, really?
Yeah.
What a specific thing for not to have happened.
I more meant like as a movie star, but as like a surrogate father figure. If anyone has any stories related to that, I more meant as a movie star because I think I've told that story on the podcast before. But yes, we were in DC once and we met Harrison Ford at a bar. It was very good.
He was really nice.
He was really nice. But like Bree was saying, what else you might have seen him in? Star Wars. This are the big franchises. Fugitive, I guess, is the big movie.
I did see The
90s.
Fugitive.
Yeah, it's weird because like
switch the samples.
By the time we were like kids, he was kind of on the tail end. Like one of the only I remember seeing he had Firewall was one of like his last action movies that was like early to mid 2000s, I think.
Yeah.
I saw that on a plane, and I remember like it literally like we're gonna put down it was weird old plane stuff where it's like, we're going to put down a projector screen and just play this movie. And if you don't want to watch it, you don't have to. But if you want to watch it, it'll
look
be
away.
It'll be there.
You don't have a screen in front of you like we do now, but like it'll just be here. And it's going to be Firewall with Harrison Ford.
Firewall was 2006 and he did Kingdom of the Crystal Skull 2008.
That was probably my way home from San Fran.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember San Fran, I was there in 2006 because I was there for the World Cup.
Is Indiana not his first name in that movie? Apparently
no.
He's Dr. Henry quote unquote Indiana Jones Jr.
He gets called Henry by Sean Connery.
Yeah, because his dad's name is Henry. His name's But
so where does Indiana come from?
He doesn't like his dad.
So he just gave himself another
He doesn't
name.
want to be a junior.
Gotcha.
And then he does like his dad. And they defeat a Christian ghost.
I can't wait to watch the rest of these movies.
They solve a Christian ghost's riddle.
I can't wait till so Temple of Doom. I'm kind of whatever about. Act 3 of Last Crusade is so good from just a complete out of nowhere.
Oh, there's another
Last Crusade. I think a little underrated because it's not this.
I remember being in my parents' living room at like probably too young, just like watching the end of that movie. Like him being like walking down the thing going only the penitent men will pass, and I'm like, Mom, what's penitent mean? And she's like, no, just watch the movie. I'm like, Mom, what's penitent mean?
Use context clues. Who's passing?
There's gonna be another Indiana Jones movie coming out.
Yes, there is.
2023.
Yeah, I never saw the
Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Yeah,
I did.
I never saw that one.
I was early on not seeing Shia LaBeouf movies, just because it sounded like that one was bad. I still went to see Disturbia.
There was aliens. A nuke went off. He survived it by going into a fridge.
Right, aliens. I remember that part.
There were giant ants at one point that ate a Nazi. It was fun.
That's weird. Did they let George Lucas be involved too much?
Probably. It was probably like a prequel thing. The best part.
We're gonna find out we're gonna find out how Hitler's taxation plan dealt a blow to archaeology. Okay.
Thanks, George. The best part of Crystal Skull, besides the whole part-time thing, which I believe was a Red Letter Media, they have like this whole joke where he says like someone's like, you're a teacher, and he's supposed to say part-time, and like it's supposed to be a bit like because he just killed somebody or something, but he says it in the stupidest way, and the one that they have clips of him saying it better, and the one they keep is just him being like part-time.
It's part-time. Wait, that's not the right inflection.
But then the other best part is near the end of the movie, Indy's hat is on the ground for some reason, and they cut to Shia LaBeouf, and Shia LaBeouf looks at the hat, and he's like, ooh, maybe I'll pick up the hat, and like they have the tense music, like, ooh, is Shia LaBeouf going to be the new Indiana Jones? And then he reaches over to pick it up, and Harrison Ford grabs it and looks at him like, what are you doing, kid? And gets out of there. And I remember my friend Brian in the movie theater just going, whoo.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, they made Burger King toys of Shia LaBeouf on a motorcycle.
Yep.
Oh my god.
I didn't see Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, and I am more encouraged. I don't know if that's even the right way to put it, by the new Indiana Jones, although Harrison Ford has already fallen down and hurt his hip whilst filming. But they put out one like teaser image of it, and it looked good. It's not going to be directed by Steven Spielberg. It's going to be James Mangold. So it'll be the first movie he's directed since Ford versus Ferrari. I mean, he's had a good run. He did Logan before that.
I could do another indie movie too. Like I was talking, like Uncharted.
This time,
Uncharted's just Indiana Jones's video games.
Well, I wanted to talk about that.
Okay,
so,
cool.
I didn't see the Uncharted movie, but the games are that. Obviously, Tomb Raider comes out. They're like, people like Indiana Jones.
I love Tomb Raider.
What if he
love
had
Tomb Raider.
real pointy polygonal breasts? So games have sort of capitalized on it. But I was thinking, like, other movies, just looking at 80s, even though it's the end of the 80s, Batman comes out in 89, and then, everything that anyone has IP related to crime serials from the 30s or 40s or superhero stuff. All those movies try and come out and they're like, oh, they want it to be dark and at night. That doesn't really happen after Indiana Jones. There's obviously still adventure movies throughout the 80s. There's a lot of adventure movies, but it's not like so indebted to serials.
And it's kind of a genre that's abandoned at this point. Like you think about, like you're seeing stuff like that movie and you're like, there's a lot of Lawrence of Arabia, like, we're going to show desert, and we're going to do this that they're evoking, but like it doesn't happen even as much anymore. And I feel like when those kind of movies happen now, a lot of times they're either like, like they're set in a time. I mean, they're very much like this one, I guess, but it's very much like, oh, we're gonna have a movie about something that's in like the 30s, or it's like, oh, we're gonna have Matthew McConaughey running around looking for weird stuff. Like,
it has to be some sort of kind of.
You talking about Sahara?
Yeah.
Period. This got me kind of thinking more.
I haven't seen Sahara.
He like surfs on the sand or something. I haven't seen Sahara either.
This kind of feels similar in tone to me of like how the Mummy franchise kind of did with like Brendan Fraser. And
I really want to do Mummy soon.
Yeah.
Oh my God. But just kind of like for something that's like a modern kind of tip off, it's like you get into like the spy stuff, which has the same kind of pacing. So like Mission Impossible, all the James Bond stuff, but it's not anything that they can kind of. Nothing that I feel like in the last like 10 years I can think of that feels similar to this in the like adventure and not something that's like spies.
There's 25 minutes of Aquaman that are just explicitly doing an Indiana Jones thing.
Yeah.
Huh.
I feel like he could have had Indiana Jones. Maybe not, but I feel like he could have done Indiana Jones the same way as James Bond. The problem being is that James Bond usually made an actor. Like, as much as Sean Connery's like a big name, like going from Harrison Ford to the next guy would have been set up to fail real hard. Like,
yes,
but
no, you don't want to. You don't
want
to
pick up the whip. Pass the torch. Like, there can't be a new Indiana Jones the way that they just like have a new James Bond in that same way.
You could do
or like just do a spiritual thing because they just made this. It wasn't IP. Why don't we get one of these every few years?
Yeah,
you totally could, and just maybe say it's like his protege, and like you got a new person now, or like someone else like in different. What's the British version of like? There's got to be archaeologists there, and like it's definitely Idris Elba. Give me that.
He's in his 50s now, but he can do it.
Or it's Chiwetel.
Yeah, Chiwetel Ejiofor. Yeah.
What's he doing? He's kind of older, but what's he doing now?
He was just in Doctor Strange.
Oh, I haven't seen that.
Making that Marvel money.
I actually looked up the cast and was like, of course he's. It's about time we roped him into this. So.
Yep. Not even necessarily Indiana Jones, though. I think we should get. Why aren't there adventure movies still?
Right.
Yeah.
And that's when we talk about, did you see Uncharted?
Yep. I did not, but
I love Tom Holland, so I do want to see it, but I want to play the games first.
As much as I played the games, I was just on a plane where it was there for free, and I chose not to watch it. That's how much I don't really think I want to watch Uncharted.
I kind of want to watch it, but I'm not like rushing to.
Yeah. I don't know.
There's a lot of other things. And then the other like adventure movie, Lost City of D, which I think they changed to The Lost City. Sandra Bullock and Channing Tatum and Daniel Radcliffe and Brad Pitt. I watched the first 5 minutes and then turned it off. Not because it was bad, but just because I was like, this is going to be like silly, and I'm just not in a silly mood.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think that's like a parody of those kinds of movies or something. Like, it almost seems like satire, like just a little too goofy.
Yeah, because she's like a writer and then about romance adventure novels, and then ends up kind of in one. And Channing, yeah, I'm all for the Channing Tatum renaissance. We all need more Tatum. I'm glad he's making movies again.
Yeah.
Do you see Dog?
Well, that's the thing is that like he's gone forever and then comes back and instantly is a box office success.
Yep.
Dog made a lot of money.
Yep.
Did it really?
Yeah, Dog made a lot of money. I think Lost City made a good amount of money too.
Huh.
So
Channing Tatum's good at what he does, and
I
he looks
love
good.
Channing Tatum.
So. Who is new Indiana Jones? Do we know?
It's Harrison Ford. He's still in it.
Oh,
Yeah, he's still in it. Yeah.
Well, I know
He
he's still in
fell
it,
down
but
and
I didn't
got
know
injured.
if they were doing another.
like a
So-
handoff.
So I was thinking of the same thing, and so I looked. So I looked at the cast list and who is around his age. Harrison Ford's what 38 when he makes this.
Yep.
Boyd Holbrook, I guess he's 40. It's tough because it's just. I'm sure there's articles about who's playing what, but
I feel like Oscar Isaac could do an okay. He's got the serious but like kind of snarky like.
Pedro.
Oh
Pascal.
yeah,
Pascal. Yeah, those are all guys in their 40s.
yeah. But like I don't know. So it's
We don't
weird.
make stars anymore.
This, I was gonna
Jack Quaid.
say, this might be a weird thing to say, but like I feel like 38 in the 80s is like 45 now. Like I feel like the fact like finding out Karen Allen, like this also just might be me getting older and like the sadness of life, but finding out that I was older than Karen Allen was in this movie was devastating to me.
Devastating.
Oh god, that is devastating. Mads Mikkelsen's in the new one. We can assume he's the villain.
No way.
Just too bad because he does other stuff too. But this is what Hollywood wants him for.
He is such a good villain.
Yeah,
So good.
especially in that kind of like unreal camp nefarious.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
In an almost
Yeah.
not goofy, but like in an almost like this guy's just a little too evil.
Antonio Banderas is in it too. But yeah, the only person who's listed in the cast that's around that Boyd Holbrook, and he's 40, so is about that age, I would say. If that's the person they want to.
I'm trying to think of someone like
I don't know.
in their 30s who could kind of take the reins and be and like the same vibe as him. Like,
Don't speak it and don't even do it. If we talk about it
breathe it
too
to
much, we're gonna be like, oh, Chris Pratt's the new Indiana Jones.
No. Oh no.
If you even think about it, it's gonna happen.
Are we
And
really getting to a point where Chris Pratt's the next Harrison Ford? Because like
Don't
it's,
No.
don't
No.
do it.
we are
Don't say it.
not.
I just don't understand how he's such a vacuum of charisma in the Jurassic Park movies.
I don't understand how he just lost like 50 pounds and became the heartthrob of America.
Well, as Andy says on Parks and Rec,
Yeah,
he just
stop
stopped
drinking beer.
Stop drinking beer.
I don't think he's the heartthrob of America.
I don't know.
He's not even the best
That's
Chris.
That's Chris Evans.
Hollywood
That's America's
executive.
ass.
Chris Pratt won Sexiest Man Alive like a year
So
that the
did Blake
Avengers came out.
Shelton.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
they're not all winners when they pick those
Nick
out.
Nolte, how dare you?
Obama won it. Like it's
Did Obama?
They just
Obama
they're
Wait,
just-
hold on. Yeah, he did it, but like recently, weirdly.
But yeah, no, Chris Pratt isn't even the best Chris in
He's
Hollywood.
not.
Pine, Hemsworth,
Mhm.
Evans,
Mhm.
I wouldn't mind Chris Pine
O'Donnell.
coming back and being
O'Donnell.
Pine.
It's Chris Pine.
Chris
Indiana
Pine could be a
Jones now?
great Indiana
Oh.
Jones. I feel
No,
like.
I mean Chris Pine is a great pick. He's older now too, but who cares?
He's
He-
got a baby face.
He
kind
just
of.
wears like open
I was gonna say he
shirts
already has-
from the 70s and has like a
Already.
big beard
I
now.
love Chris Pine's vibe. Oh my
Mhm.
god, I love him.
Yes, he seems like a. Yeah, he's a really
He'd be the one.
interesting.
I
Remember
feel
that
like of
guy
all the
was-
Chris's, he'd be the one.
I remember.
I can definitely see him as
He's gotten
Indiana Jones.
franchises already, though. I don't think he
Yeah.
wants to do them anymore.
I remember being in high school and Chris Pine was just like the weird like Nazi dude from like Smoking Aces, and I'm like, this guy's a good actor. And then he like became a
Yeah.
mega star, and I'm like, oh okay.
Well, he did that. What's the one with the boat that gets lost in the storm? The fishing
Star
boat.
Trek.
Storm.
Shut
I
up.
was gonna say that.
Star Trek boat storm. Yes.
Star Trek into Boat Storm.
I was gonna say Star Trek no matter what you said, and then I pivoted to Boat Storm.
I was just
and I
gonna
shouldn't
say
have
it's
done it.
based on that fishing boat out of New Bedford.
Finest hours.
Yeah. And that's when I was like, I like this guy. That's literally all I was gonna say.
I think the first thing I saw him in was Princess Diaries too, and I loved him in it.
And now we're back.
And we're
So
back.
good.
Back at it.
So in
Back
Princess
to
Diaries 2. That's going to be next
We need to do
episode.
that one and not the first one. Just Princess Diaries 2.
So focusing on who could be an Indiana Jones in Hollywood today, which
And
we
half
didn't
of it.
introduce it as a segment, but maybe I'll cut this bit into the first part so it
Yeah.
sounds like it was not quite so messily organic. But yeah, I mean Chris Pine. I guess.
Chris Pine would be great.
Pine, yeah.
My other thought was John Krasinski, but I feel like maybe he's like a little
I can
bit
see
too.
I think he's just
Too
a little
silly.
too bland.
Is there? I don't
Michael
know
B.
if it's-
Jordan, he's got that. He's got
Oh.
that kind of over
I
it
feel like
vibe.
he's too big though at this point. But I
That
guess
could be
Harrison
really
Ford was
cool.
like height of his powers at that point
Yeah.
too.
You're telling me.
I don't know. It would be funny if he just did Killmonger as Indiana, like in case
Yeah.
Killmonger had gone good and was just like that belongs in
That's
Africa.
His entire
you
thing
know
is
what
just
I
the
mean?
opposite of Indiana Jones.
Yeah.
He's just returning it to the places it should
He's
go.
like punching Queen Elizabeth and raiding the British Museum.
He's just literally stealing the Elgin
Oh, it's
marbles,
so good.
blowing up other artifacts to get to
Ryan
it.
Coogler would absolutely make this movie.
That'd be so good.
Yeah.
We gotta tell Cougs.
Michael B. Jordan trying to carry the Moai head out of London.
I want to see
Just
this
dragging
movie
the Rosetta Stone.
I want to see this movie so bad.
And it's just like, we're gonna make a sequel. It's also at the British Museum. There's still more.
There's more stuff, guys. Gotta get to the Victoria and Albert next, then hit the Tate. Just hit all
Yep.
there.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Instead of
Which
Nazis,
Tate?
it's just a
All
Boris.
the Tates. Hit them all.
It's just a Boris Johnson knockoff, the big bad. Like, God, oh, if Philip Seymour Hoffman could still be alive. My God,
Just have his son do it and just whatever.
Yeah.
I don't care that he's 18.
like many states of Newark. Just I don't care.
He's 18, whatever. He's a
the prime
spitting image of
minister,
Boris
though.
Johnson.
All right, we figured it out,
Yeah,
guys.
we got it. We got an absolute hit in our hands.
Yeah.
Ryan Coogler, you take this to the bank, damn it.
And doesn't even have to be Indiana Jones, like I said. What would you repatriate games?
I was trying to think of like a different like name instead of Indiana Jones, and I can't.
So that's not really where we meant to end up.
No.
Who else would be good?
I do
I
like
just
the
want to
idea.
say, the Alicia Vikander Tomb Raider. She's really good in it.
Yeah.
We saw it in theaters.
This will be the third episode in a row I've talked about how much I like Alicia Vikander. So yeah, multiple attempts at Lara Croft now. Angelina Jolie ones were pretty big. Those were a pretty
Really
big deal.
enjoyed those.
Those
I had
movies.
those on DVD. I watched them a lot.
Probably the first Daniel Craig movie I saw. He's in the second one, right?
He's in the first one.
He's in the first one, right?
Yeah, he's in the first one.
I haven't seen those in ages.
I've only played the new video games. It's the only Tomb Raider stuff that I have.
Played the new video games, played the old video games.
Yeah, I had the
Didn't play the
original.
old ones. Didn't watch the old movies.
It could be really fun. I feel like all the people we came up with would be, I think, able to carry a movie-esque like
Yeah.
this. Like something that is Indiana Jones-esque. Chris Pine, absolutely. I could absolutely see Michael B. Jordan. It would be really cool to do it with a female lead. So like Alicia Vikander is amazing and I think could totally do it. There's definitely others that I'm just not thinking of that would also be awesome.
Oh, I've seen Sky Captain World of Tomorrow. Sorry. So.
Oh, yeah, there
Did you
you
see
go.
Mr. and Mrs. Smith?
Nope.
Ooh.
Oh.
That's
Oh, I
good.
saw Kung Fu
See, that would be
Panda. I'm not lying though. I didn't even see Gone in 60 Seconds. I've always kind of wanted to, but I never
That's a
actually
great
have.
movie.
Yeah.
Pretty short too.
Yeah. 60 seconds.
Yep.
God
Yeah,
damn it.
you set it up, but I know you're supposed to trust your audience, but sometimes
No one laughed, so I'm glad somebody.
sometimes, yeah, Hollywood's frustrating.
So I guess where we came down on Angelina Jolie's the new Indiana Jones. Angelina Jones. And for some reason Cooper Hoffman is the villain.
John
Playing-
Voight's the villain now because both in real life and
So we got about an hour out of this. and sorry to go back into the movie.
No, oh yeah, please.
So the ending scene, had you seen like even clips or memes of people's faces melting off?
Yes, I've definitely seen the melting face meme. I think that's the only part of that though that I've seen. I don't think I've seen anything else about the ghost flying around or anything. No, I don't think I've seen any of that.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think sometimes I see a gif of them tied to the pole, kind of wincing while the things are flying.
I feel like Bird Box might have taken that entire bit. Like,
the close your eyes.
Yeah, close your eyes, or forcing somebody to watch.
Yeah, those gifs I've seen way more of.
But yeah, this is a PG movie, and
I told her that this movie exists for preteens to get scarred for life.
Then the following year, Spielberg produces Poltergeist, which is also a PG movie.
That was a PG movie.
Poltergeist is PG?
With that clown doll? Ugh, that's tough.
Stuff's PG for a while here.
Yeah,
When's,
Jaws.
Someone know when PG-13 is installed by the MPAA?
Caddyshack is also PG, right?
Oh, we had some thoughts on Caddyshack.
I feel like I remembered that there were ghosts and face melting, but I just like had completely blocked it out.
Yeah.
I must have seen this too young and just like blocked it out entirely because as soon as it started, I was just like, holy crap.
PG-13. PG-13 doesn't happen until 1984.
Yeah.
Okay.
But yes, so
Big Brother installs it.
The practical effects are cool in that bit
Yeah.
with the guy's face melting off. That doesn't even look that claymation. So
No, I said it felt very Tim Burton-y, but
Yeah, definitely.
There's a guy earlier in the movie that gets shot in the head that has like weird prosthetics on his face, and I was literally like, "Why does that guy have clear prosthetics on his face?" And then he got lit on fire and shot in the head. And I was like, "Oh, that's why. He's just wearing all the squibs and whatever."
yeah, depending on what date you go by, it's also the same year as the first Evil Dead, and that has people dying and then very like more claymation-y kind of, rotting away. So yeah, I don't know. It's just really good. I like that it's all different things. The one guy melts, the other guy's head explodes, Scanner style.
I was gonna say it's weird that Scanners has such like a lockdown on like head explosion gifs and memes when like there's a very more popular movie.
Yeah,
a lot less clean though with the flames and stuff.
Yes, exactly, with the flames. And I guess, we could look this up. The ghosts are painted onto the strip or something.
Yeah, we were wondering how much like green screen stuff was being used in this movie because it seems like they're just on set a lot, and there's a lot of extras,
a lot of big sets, which I like.
Yeah.
I had the thought that it felt very similar to the way the Ghost of Christmas Past looks in Muppet Christmas Carol. And I was like, did they put a bunch of people in like baby oil and make them fly around and then they filmed it and just put it on here?
Or Marley and Marley.
Yeah.
But I just in general appreciate that majority of this they did everything they could. Like the whole scene with the guy like going the Harrison Ford guy, like stunt double, obviously going under the truck was practical.
So cool.
They did that, and then like you can tell they had to speed it up so it looks like it's going way faster. But like it all happened. Like that's really cool.
Yeah, that leather jacket's a hero for them.
Yes. You have to be wearing your leather because otherwise it's just Road Rash City.
So yeah, apparently they make Joe Johnston, who was a storyboard artist at the time, work on that final scene. A bunch of different artists had come up with some different ideas of how it should look, and they were like, let's say they just said yes to every idea. Someone's like, oh, it should be fire, it should be ghosts, it should be lightning, and they just said, yes, do that. Yeah. So I'm just looking at this. So some ILM's involved in Industrial Light and Magic. That's a George Lucas company also. It's easy to make fun of George Lucas, but he, of course, also is responsible for most of the innovations in film in the last 50 years.
For sure.
Kay's right. It's puppets.
Yeah, I thought so. Looked like puppets.
Yeah. It's weird because like it's not great, but it's
no. It feels like it fits though.
Yeah.
Like it's not. They weren't trying, I think, to make it look super. Not that ghosts,
right? Yeah.
Like there's no set thing they need to look like, but I do think that they kind of leaned into like, oh, we can just make this like weird and just like wacky.
Exactly.
And go for it.
The transition from like the angel looking thing to like the skull looking thing very much screamed like old religious cartoon, and then they were evil.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, I also had the thought of like it felt very Haunted Mansion-y.
Yes, definitely. That's the vibe I got at the end. Yep.
Stakes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was Hitler going to do with this ark?
So that is kind of
Use
weird.
it as a weapon,
It's
I
a weird
guess.
MacGuffin.
It would be at sort of the vanguard of the
Yeah.
fight, and you just go check this shit out.
Yeah,
And all the Nazis close their eyes.
Yeah, I think I remember there being a discussion at one point in my life where people were talking about the biggest MacGuffins in history. And for those that don't know what a MacGuffin is, it's basically like a vague object that everyone's chasing in a movie.
Mhm.
Most famously, the Maltese Falcon.
Mhm.
Like that's the whole thing. Is like the whole plot of the movie is that everyone's going after the Maltese Falcon.
It's what dreams are made
It's
of.
what dreams are made of. You can watch that for yourself and have a good time.
It's like the Hillary Duff
It's such
song.
a good movie.
Yep.
Yes.
Hey now, hey now.
But the Ark of the Covenant doesn't really like it's potent and it has a force to it, obviously.
Mhm.
We see that get paid off. But yeah, it just seems like this vague, powerful thing that they want, and it's almost like, why do we want it? It's like because it's the thing that we need. Like there's no real there is no real prize. Like, well, Hitler's gonna just like you said, like they're just gonna throw this on the front lines and it's gonna obliterate everybody.
I mean, in actuality, majority of the stuff that the archaeologists for the Nazis were doing was looking for ways to prove that the Germans were the like master race.
Yeah.
So they were going to use whatever they found to kind of propaganda, basically say like, oh, this proves that we're the best in some way, which again, it doesn't quite make sense why you would want something that then would have significance for the Jewish people.
Yeah.
But like, I guess they would have couched it as like, oh, the Jews say that this was theirs, but it really looks like,
Right.
look at this, it's
Yeah.
old German.
Yeah. Hey, we opened this thing and it said Hitler was right. Don't cut that. Don't cut my voice.
We'll see. Man, yeah, good movie. I'm glad Hitler didn't win this time. I just love adventure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really fun.
It's just fun. There's some quips, some jokes,
Yep.
little dash of romance. Eat some popcorn, have a Coke.
Yep.
America.
Watch a really look at a really sweaty Coke on a screen.
Yeah. Well, we barely talked about there. Yeah, every scene in this is like, oh, we could spend 10 minutes talking about how they do that and this is fun fact or whatever. But yeah, I like the Well of Souls when they're down there with the snakes. It's iconic.
That's the most like you can tell Uncharted, like the people who made the Uncharted games just saw that one thing where it's like, oh, we're gonna knock over the door because there's clearly something behind it because snakes are coming out of the wall, and there's just
You have
like
to climb up a thing.
exactly.
And,
You can climb up a thing and kick a thing through a thing, and it's like, okay, Uncharted just took that and did it 400 times and made $1 billion.
Yeah.
Because that's all the Uncharted games are, and it's great. Not dissing them, but
And the whole boulder thing at the beginning, like that's in so many video games.
yeah,
Like if it's an adventure game, you probably have a part where you have to run from a boulder or you have to time it so you don't get hit by a
or
boulder.
there's something chasing you down and you're running at the screen,
Right.
Mhm.
Oh god, yeah. So there's actually a game I really liked for the original Xbox. That's an Indiana Jones game that I believe is unconnected from any of the movies, or disconnected would be the proper thing here. And it's really good. And he fights Nazis or whatever. He tries to steal some artifacts that are important to some religion, put them in a museum. The new one I don't think has a name yet, but it is slated for 2023, so we'll hope so. Spielberg, for his part, we didn't talk too much about Spielberg in this one, but that's okay. We got all a big Steve Summer to talk about him.
Big Steve Summer.
He has a new movie coming out this year called The Fabelmans that is loosely based on his own upbringing. Paul Dano's playing his dad character.
Oh.
I think Michelle Williams is in it too. It's supposed to be really good. I thought his West Side Story was really awesome last
I
year.
watch that.
I think it's
I
on
do wanna
HBO.
watch
We
it.
should watch that.
It is. It's
I
really
love
good.
West
Or I
Side
think it's on
Story.
Disney
Super
Plus,
well.
actually.
It's really good.
Super well directed.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's some weird agreements thing. I think it's been on both. I don't know which one it's on right now.
Disney Plus has a few that I'm just like, why is this on here? But it's like kind of makes sense, but it's also on another major streaming thing.
Excited to talk. I'm excited for Fabelmans. It seems like it's gonna be really good. And Dano back in Oscar contenders is fun.
Yeah, we were playing Herd Mentality the other day, which is a board game where you basically try to answer like the most popular thing. And one of the questions was name a Spielberg movie. So like the whole point was that you're supposed to name a movie by Spielberg that everyone else in the room would also say.
Yep.
And I remember there was one girl that we're friends with that was like, I don't she's not a movie buff, so she was like, I don't know, and she still, I think she guessed Jaws, like, and just got it right. She like knew who still, like, she knows who Spielberg is, but she just doesn't, she wasn't.
Yeah,
but
I think
like,
I said Jaws too.
He's just so pervasive in like media, it's just
like
to just be able to guess, like, I don't know, what's a big movie from like the latter 20th century, and just you're probably gonna hit Spielberg, like, it's crazy.
Yeah. Well, the 4 we're doing this month, because I haven't mentioned it yet, we're doing, obviously, we just did Raiders of the Lost Ark. This won't be in chronological order like the last couple, but Raiders of the Lost Ark, Jaws, E.T., and Jurassic Park.
Which are all like 5 years apart almost, like perfectly.
Jurassic Park's 93, but the other ones are all within a couple of years of each other.
It was like E.T.'s what, 86?
Earlier, because we just had this conversation. I think it's 82.
I want to say it's like 82, right?
I think it's the next year.
Really?
So I think
I guess Drew Barrymore's like 5, so this all makes sense.
So so E.T.'s the next year, 82. The next year after this, Jaws is 75.
Yep.
Jurassic Park 93. So that's a hell of an 18 years. God. And just how much filmmaking changes and how much Spielberg is pushing it forward. This movie is fantastic. On letterboxd.com, you can look up Late 2 the movies. That's the number 2. And you can find, I take note of every movie we do and put in our ratings. So on a 1 to 5 scale of your choosing, going by half numbers if you need to, what would you rate this movie? Anyone can jump in.
4.5 whip cracks out of 5. I don't like the animal deaths, but everything else is great.
Okay. Which...
Yeah, I don't know. I want to say 5 out of 5 because I really like this movie. It's what it is. It's great. So I'm going to say 5 out of 5 snakes. Gotta be snakes.
It's always snakes.
Yeah,
why gotta be 5 stars.
Snakes?
Why did it have to be
5 stars? Why did it have to be 5 stars? I'm going to go 5 Alfred Molina back tarantulas out of 5.
Yeah, this is a 5er for me too, which will put us at what, like 4.83 or something?
I can't. Too many animals. I don't care that the monkey was a Nazi, and you can take that out of context.
They didn't actually kill the animals, though.
No, I know. That monkey was a very
kill the snakes. He's put gas
like
on
in real life.
Like in real life. I'm sorry. I thought you were saying like
they were. Harrison Ford didn't even know they were filming.
Indiana Jones didn't kill the.
That was just his life.
Yeah.
Harrison Ford was like, a bunch of fucking snakes, and give me the gasoline. And
you switch the samples so you could make Provassin.
So you could fill a room with asps. Oh man. Yeah, I don't know. What's funny? There's nothing's funny. This is gonna be a 5 for me also. This one's got 5. I mean, Rolling Boulders is right there. But not funny.
Poison darts.
Not funny though.
Hand medallion wounds.
Yeah, it's gonna do something funny, but I think none of us did boulders. You gotta get the boulders in there. So I'm gonna go 5 boulders.
What a great movie.
Oh my god.
Just top to bottom, great movie.
Just fun.
If you go through that movie and you don't have a good time, just stop watching movies.
Then you suck.
It's a really good length too, because I was like in my head, I was like, this has got to be like 4 hours, and Ben was like, no, it's like less than 2. I was like, oh, great.
155. It's so epic. They got so much. Yeah, I mean, the boat stuff is not as memorable as the rest of it, just because there is a lot of transit to get from Cairo to the island off of Crete.
It was supposed to be an island near Crete.
Yeah.
Okay.
They pick up the arc like an hour into it, though. Like this movie is moving.
Yeah.
Yeah. It moves. We didn't even talk about it, but I love the plane on the map.
Yep.
Anytime there's a plane on the map, I go, yep. There it goes.
Yep.
The plane looks cool. That's all stuff they made like miniatures of and filmed, and that looks good. I don't know.
Same thing as Sleepless in Seattle.
I like that too. I do like that. Big Steve Summer. The joke originally made more sense, but I think the nonsense is funnier. So we're going Big Steve Summer on this one. Up next is, I think it should be E.T. next week. And then the other ones I mentioned after that. If you want to follow us on Instagram, good news, you can. Late to the movies _podcast. That's the number 2. Same deal with the Gmail. Late to the movies @gmail.com. You can rate, review, follow, Star is up on Stitcher, Spotify, Apple Podcasts. A friend of mine who doesn't like to use Spotify anymore said I should mention that you can just Google the podcast and listen through Google. I think that's technically Google Podcast, but like literally just go to Google, type in this show. You can just hit play.
There.
Yeah,
just take a little bit of Google like bandwidth away. Just
you can just do it.
Yeah.
Podbeans. That's the thing. Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Dun, penny whistle. Dun, dun,
Fine.
I like that your body goes back and forth with the.
It's really hard not to. Yeah, if I do it for more than 10 seconds, I pass out.
Yeah.